Brandon, how did you find carnivore?
So I actually have a friend. His name is Dave Champion. He has a PhD in human physiology. So I've been following him for a number of years before I found out about anything having to do with ketogenic lifestyle in general. And he had this really big uh, coming out about the ketogenic lifestyle, and at first he followed keto. Well, that's how I ended up finding out about keto, and I was like, I can't do that. That involves fruits and vegetables and stuff. I never really liked vegetables. I've never really liked fruits. So after a few years of him doing keto, he started talking about this thing called carnivore. And I was like, wait a minute. I love hamburger patties and I love steaks and ribs, bacon and all these other things. Like I could do that. So I started listening to him, listening to what he had to say. And he'd been doing carnivore for a while before he started actually talking about it. Because this was back when like carnivore was just starting to like come out. People were like blown away by it. So I kind of had the same reaction. I was, I believe, well, fat's bad and all this other stuff. Well, I started listening to him and stuff started clicking and making sense. And, as a truck driver, you know, my lifestyle is not healthy anyway, like at all. So like I was on the precipice of 300 pounds and I knew I just had to do something. So he was talking about carnivore. And I was like, you know what? It's making a lot of sense. Things are clicking. I need to do something or I'm not going to make it very long. So I decided, all right, I'm going to try carnivore. I'm going to give it a shot. And God, that was like, I think I'm on my 6th year of it now.
Wow. And you don't look like you're 300 pounds anymore.
I certainly don't feel like it either. I have had to, I've had to buy new clothes more than twice. And the thing that I've learned, it's a bittersweet thing about entering a ketosis lifestyle, especially carnivore, because through carnivore, it just comes off so fast. Do not go out and buy brand new clothes because you are still going to lose so much more weight. Like this past February is when I bought brand new clothes and I got a belt on right now. And I was not at the very last hole on the belt yet. And now I'm at the very last hole on the belt, and I could probably add about 2 more holes to this belt before it gets tight. Like, I spent $500 on a completely new set of wardrobe, and now I have to go back out since this past February, and it's December now. It's been almost a year, and I have to go out and buy brand new clothes again because what I bought last time is now too big. Like, I am still continuing to lose weight the more I stick onto this carnivore diet.
Wow. And has anything else changed for you that's made you realize this is definitely the way I should be eating?
That's a really good question because I'll start that out by saying people who just live an everyday life, they just get used to the everyday routine. They don't really notice when things are out of whack. Um, as a truck driver, this right here is my office every day. I've been out on the road since February. I've gone home for a couple of days twice, maybe this year. So when you just sit here every day for 10 to 11 hours and all you're doing is looking out the window, driving the truck down the road, you really take notice of a lot of things that are going on because your first priority is to always be aware of your surroundings. Well, when I started carnivore, within just like the first month, I started to notice my surroundings in my body. So the first thing to go was the headaches and the migraines, the eye fatigue. And then after that, it was the inflammation that was making my knees and my shoulders just hurt. People don't sit here and think that just sitting here all day holding your foot on an accelerator pedal would wear your knee out, but it actually does. And it can hurt pretty bad, especially if you've got inflammation around the joint. So when you reduce that inflammation and you start giving your body the nutrients that it needs to not only feel better, but start to repair itself, especially in that cartilage, like it's a night and day difference. And it happens so fast the more strict you are with it, which is why carnivore is so great. So after the inflammation went away, like the brain fog started to clear up. I'm one of those people where when it used to be really hard for me to go to sleep, but once I got to sleep, it was really hard for me to wake up. Like I loved my sleep. But now that I know the things that I know, your sleep period is your repair period. So obviously I loved my sleep because my body loved to repair itself, or at least try to, with all the crap that I was putting in it. So I just slept all the time. And then when I had to work, I was just so tired. And that's because I wasn't ever really doing anything good for myself. So now it's so easy to go to sleep. And sometimes I wake up before my alarm clock even goes off, which for me is like unheard of because my body's not needing that extra sleep period because I'm so well fat adapted now that my body has caught up to being repaired. It's ready to get up and go as soon as it feels it's had enough sleep. So the brain fog, the sleep, the inflammation, the headaches, and the migraines, especially migraines. I don't miss the migraines at all, especially when you're driving down the road, especially at night, like I'm doing now. And you got people that come at you with high beams on. Those just are horrible, especially when you got a migraine. You don't even feel like driving the next mile down the road. It's terrible. So stuff like that. There's a thing in the trucking world called trucker's vertebrae. So when you've been driving down the road for an extended amount of time for like years, you get this thing in your back in your vertebrae, and I don't know if it's an actual medical term or not, but in the trucking world, it's a very well known thing. And it's where your lower back just becomes so weak. And I think, I know a lot of it has to do with the bumps in the road and the compression. And I mean, all you're doing is literally this all day. So the spinal compression and everything else, if you know anything about your spine, that's where all your nerves are. That's your nerve highway. So I've had that forever. So all the inflammation that's gone, especially from around my back, stuff like that has really improved. I mean, I could probably sit here and talk to you all day long about this and that and everything else. You name it, it's gotten better.
That's fantastic. So, I mean, the fact that you're able to do your job more like without any pain, without the headaches, without all of these things, is a big, a massive thing, especially when you're sitting there 11, 12 hours a day, right?
Yeah, and one more thing, like just the focus and the clarity, especially in my profession, like I have to know what's going on around. There's, wherever you are, I'm sure you deal with, going to the grocery store or not. There's an idiot out there somewhere doing something stupid that they're not supposed to be. I have to be hyper vigilant at all times, 10 hours a day. That's a lot of mental work. Like people just think, oh, I can drive a truck. I can just hold a steering wheel all day long. And, truck drivers like to joke about that, but it's a lot more serious than that. Like I've got to pay attention, 10 cars ahead of me. I've got to pay attention 20 cars behind me. And I've got to pay attention to everybody that's beside of me. And not to mention all the blind spots. It's like every little thing you have to be hyper focused and hyper vigilant on. So that has gone through the roof for me. And I feel like the diet specifically, with what it does for my mental capacity, makes me a better and safer driver, which me eating a more human specific diet makes it better for everybody else in my profession.
So regarding driving, this is actually an interesting thing. I know for me, I've never been a truck driver, but just when I'm driving, like, I might be going to work or something, takes me an hour. And before, when I was driving, I would be kind of always hyper vigilant, but things that would happen on the road would frustrate me and irritate me. Like someone, trying to go up a slip lane really quickly just so they can get one car ahead and all this kind of thing. Someone changing lanes in a traffic jam because they think I'm gonna get one car ahead, that's gonna shave a second off my travel time. Those things would frustrate me. And I don't drive anymore, so I don't know what I'd be like now, but uh, has anything like that changed for you? And as far as you're better able to kind of cope with idiots on the road and just kind of go, okay, well, I'm not going to get frustrated about what someone else is doing or things like that.
I'm glad you brought that up because it really has. So back when I was living off of honey buns and Dr. Peppers, like anybody that's in the health space knows like your hormonal balance is going to be so far out of whack. Your cortisol is going to be through the roof. And then you get out here and deal with the idiots on the road. And then your cortisol is going to even be, more through the roof. So you're just stressed all day long. So when I started carnivore, the nutritional side of it helped me a lot. And then once my body got better nutritionally wise, excuse me, I was able to more adapt myself to my mental health. So, uh, when I was living in glucosis, I was I was just go 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 like hyper anxiety. Yeah, I guess is like the best way to put it. And if anybody did any little bitty thing, it just set me off. Like I was just mad, and I was mad all day long because somebody's just out here being stupid, or maybe I missed a turn and it just set me off. I was just life was hell. Mentally and physically, it was absolute hell. And once my body repaired, and then I could focus on my mental health, and my hormones got regulated like they're supposed to be. Like now I can breathe. Okay. Now I know to expect, stupidity every day. So it's just like you already know it's going to happen. You can't do anything about it. Take a breath, slow down, you know, try and pay a little bit more extra attention. It's like every day is a new goal to try and better myself by one step. And at the end of the year, if you've taken one step a day, you've improved 365 steps. So I've learned that slow and steady wins the race. So slow down, breathe, really expect the unexpected. And now that I can actually prepare myself for it mentally, like my nothing really sets me off anymore. Like it's just like at the company that I work at. So I started at this company in July, and this is like the seventh truck I've been in. But this truck that I'm in now is a loaner truck because my last truck that I was in, I didn't even get to do my first load in it before the transmission went out. Other drivers would just be raising absolute hell about it, especially being after in truck after truck after truck, having all these issues and problems. And I'm just like, hey, man, it's shit happens. There's nothing I can do about it. There's nothing y'all could have done about it. There's no sense in being upset. I mean, yeah, it sucks, but now I've got so much of a better handle on my emotions because I'm not hormonal. So I can take the bad for what it is and just roll with it. Cause the way I look at it now, there's no reason for me to give anybody or anything the power to screw with my health. And that includes triggering my cortisol levels to an unhealthy state that's going to reverse everything that I've been trying to do, which is to lose weight and to feel better. That's why I started carnivore in the first place, because I had to lose that weight. And then I learned about all the other benefits of it. I learned carnivore is not a weight loss diet. It's just a side effect. It's a body reset. It's a lifestyle. It's achieving homeostasis. So I don't, I'm not allowing anything to get to me anymore. And I have the ability to not let it because, like I said, I'm not hormonal. Things, things don't trigger me the way that they used to. I can let things slide that I used to just go bent out of shape over. So yeah.
That's fantastic. Um, so how do you, eat day to day, and how can you manage that with being in the truck for the majority of the day?
Okay. So I'm a big gadget guy, right? So I love my gadget. So, um, people that are used to trucks in the US, we got that conventional big style. And then, you got people over in Europe and, pretty much everywhere else, they got the cab over with the flat nose. So the way that my truck is set up, I have a refrigerator, which is sitting right back here, and it's really small. I mean, I can fit quite a bit of food in there, but for somebody who's doing carnivore, it's not ideal because the freezer is like that big. It's really small. Um, so I actually bought I had a really big fridge freezer double den combo, and it would sit like right here in the passenger side. Like I would remove the passenger seat, I'd have that sitting here, and it worked great. It had a really big freezer in it, which as a carnivore, all my food went in. Excuse me. And I could store about 3 weeks to a month's worth of food, sometimes about a month and a half, depending on if I had like roast or ground peas. And, I'm one of those people where I'm not a perfectionist, so I'll still have mustard or I don't eat ketchup anymore, but I'll still have mustard every once in a while with my hamburger patties. And I would put eggs and bacon in the refrigerator. And that worked great until it didn't because then I wanted more room in my truck to move around. So what I ended up doing was I bought this 54 quart, I believe, uh, or no, it's a 59 quart chest freezer. And I actually have it sitting on my top bunk in my sleeper. And it just sits up there and it doesn't bother anybody. It's out of my way. And I can fit over 20 hamburger patties in there, which I typically eat about 4 patties a day if I'm eating hamburger patties, but I don't eat them every day because I alternate between patties or steak or whatever. And I can fit probably just as many steaks in there. So I can fit a month to well over a month's worth of food just in that alone. And when I'm ready to get something out, I get it out and I put it in my little refrigerator in the truck and I let it thaw overnight. And by the next day, I've got my food ready. And I only use 2 things to cook in my truck. Like, there's a lot of truck drivers out there, they've got a bunch of different stuff. Like, they'll have a microwave that's got maybe just the microwave, or it might have an air fryer convection setting, or they might have a toaster oven, or an electric or propane powered cooking eye, and put a pot on it. You know, a lot of people will turn their trucks into like mini kitchens with all these little gadgets and stuff. Being carnivore, I don't have to spend all the extra money on all the extra stuff. I've got an electric skillet to fry my eggs and my bacon with, and everything else gets cooked in my air fryer, which I've got a tasty air fryer. So it's basically built for carnivores. I just put the meat throw thermometer in it, plug it in, select which steak I want and what temperature I want it cooked at, and I ain't got to worry about it for like 15 minutes until it's ready. So the way that I cook is set it and forget it style. Like I ain't got to worry about it. I can be making my food while I'm filling out paperwork for the load that I just got done, or I could be figuring out which route I want to take for the next day, or you know what have you. So this has also allowed me more free time to prepare myself for the next day, or with whatever I'm doing at the moment that needs to get done or that I want to get done. So the chest freezer, the air fryer, and the electric skillet, and that's like really it. Oh, and one more thing. Uh, this is a tasty product. It's it's kind of like a thermos, but it's an electric type deal. So I actually got this out yesterday and used it or today and used it for the first time. I put bone broth in here and was able to get it. I think it goes all the way up to 140 degrees. So even if you're carnivore, you still like coffee, like this thing keeps it warm. But the bone broth, I bought like 15 packs of bone broth and I've got them up there in my freezer, and I put it in there, and I got to have bone broth instead of coffee this morning. And it was like amazing. Like if you've had bone broth, you know how good bone broth is.
Oh, that's fantastic. Um, so, in your name down there, it says the Highway Health Coach. Could you talk a little bit about that, please?
Yeah. So the way that started, uh, when my friend talked about carnivore and everything, and I went on to it. So I learned quite a bit through him and his book called Body Science. So I took that and I ran with it. I started reading medical journals like crazy, you know, listening to all the big wigs, you know, reading bunches of books. As a truck driver, you don't do nothing but this all day. So I get to listen to a bunch of audio books. So I basically became this big nerd. And then with all that information, with the free time that I do have, I like to argue with vegetarians online. So um, I use that as like debate club to there's some vegetarians that'll throw out studies back and forth to you, and some of them just, you know, word vomit what they've been told. So I was really able to hone my skills doing that. And what that did for me was help me learn more and more and more. And I started coaching friends of mine that are in trucking. And I got one specific friend. He was like 600 pounds. Like he was a really big guy. And I met him through another mutual friend of mine who just started carnivore after, you know, hearing me talk about it for years. Finally decided to get on it. But my 600-pound friend, uh, I started telling him about it, started coaching him through the process of it. And I didn't even know what health coaching was at the time. I was just like, all right, you're doing this, you're doing great. Now let's do this. Let's work on that, you know, this and that, this and that. And, you know, over the past year, he's lost over 100 pounds already. And he's loving it. He's loving how much better he feels. You know, we're still working on some things, but the way that I found health coach or found out about health coaching was, I'm sure you know who Sean Baker is.
Yeah.
Um, I have a friend, which we didn't know each other at the time, but his name is Rance. And Rance, I don't know how, but he just happened to be going through, you know, a comment section that I was at war in. And he was like, he reached out to me. He's like, man, you really know what you're talking about. And I was like, well, thanks. You know, I've really dug into this. And he's like, you ever thought about being a health coach? I was like, you know, what the hell is that? Like, you can do that? He was like, yeah, like I'm a health coach, talking about himself. Like I'm a health coach at the Rivero Clinic, which is Sean Baker's clinic. And I was like, I didn't know Sean Baker had a clinic. Like I knew he was a doctor, but I thought he was like, you know, a regular doctor where you went for a boo-boo checkup or something, you know? Like I didn't know that he had actually set up his own clinic at that time. So for me, it was kind of like surreal. Like, damn, like one of Sean Baker's people is like recognizing me. So he started telling me about what health coaching was and what it entails and what you do and, you know, how it all works. And I was like, well, where do you go to do that? Like, you got to go to school for like 4 years and get a doctorate or something. He's like, no, dude, you go to this school, which he told me about the school that he went to. And so that's where I went. And, I had finished like the whole course in like 6 months and, ended up getting my certificate as a primal health coach. And I took it from there and just ran with it. Rance is actually the one that came up with the name, the Highway Health Coach, because I was like, great, now I've got this certificate. You know, what am I going to call this? Like trucker health, or I don't know. But like Rance has helped me so much through this whole process. Like I already knew so much, and then doing the schooling just like helped validate so much of that. So now my goal as a actual nutritional expert is to help transform the trucking industry. And I don't know if you've ever seen like any of the old school trucking movies like Smokey and the Bandit or the Black Dog or, you know, whatever. But they depict truck drivers back in the 70s, 80s, and even early 90s as, you know, jacked up guys or skinny, you know, like a string bean looking like
Right.
type deal. You didn't see obese truck drivers back then. Now you rarely see a fit one. Like I tell people that I'm a truck driver and they're like, you don't look like a truck driver. You should have seen me 4 years ago. But that makes me feel good because it's like I'm getting back to what I used to look like in high school, which I graduated in 2011. So I'm 33 years old now. I didn't think that I was even going to see 30 back the way that I was eating and the way that I was, you know, going downhill so fast. Like I was literally scared to death. As a new truck driver, I wasn't going to reach 30 years old because I realized just how bad the lifestyle was. So
Right.
that's what I want to do. I want to create a shift in the transportation industry. Like there's an organization for truck drivers or anybody that's in the trucking industry called Trucker Spinal Mile. And it's a great organization. I love what they do. But the biggest issue that I have is that you have to use them at the worst time because whatever might happen out here on the road, if you wreck, you know, that's an accident. But if you die in your sleep, parked at a truck stop, if you have a company that cares about you, they might find you that morning or that day. But if you're an owner operator and you're gone, no, and hopefully you've got somebody that you talk to, you know, and knows where you're at. If they haven't heard from you in a while, they can call somebody to come check on you. But for a lot of truck drivers out there, if they go in their sleep and they don't get to wake up, it might be 3 or 4, maybe a week. It's been at least a month for some drivers before they got found. And you go early, you shouldn't have to. And it could be the easiest switch just with a diet change. That's what really, irks me, is that you could so easily make sure you make it to the next day if you just took one step to eat better. And that's what really set the fire at me, because I don't want other truck drivers to have to go too early. I want to make sure truck drivers can actually get home to their families or their friends and not have to, in their last day, not be out here on the road. I mean, we're all slaves to the road in this industry, but we don't have to be slaves to our diet. We can still make it home. We can still live a good life doing something like this. And it's just one simple tweak in your lifestyle. Now, I've gone a lot further, and I've started to implement exercise, and that's what I'm trying to build up right now is, good exercise routines for clients who are in the same situation I'm in. Because I'm a truck driver too. I'm doing it right now. I'm driving down the road, and I know what they go through because I live it myself. Because I know that, I have the advantage to help. And with that advantage, I'm trying to figure out how to implement better eating habits, how to implement better snacking habits, how to implement better sleeping habits, and how to implement more movement and exercise. Because the key to living a long life is the ability to apply power through strength. Now, I'm a flatbed driver, so I get out and I get active. I've got to tarp a load. I've got to chain stuff down. I've got to throw straps. I've got to yank down on a wrench to tighten down, whatever. And, I'm taking laps around the truck all the time. I'm getting out. I'm getting active. But, a lot of other truckers, they're just door swingers. They get out and they open the door and they climb right back in the truck. Instead of just sitting there waiting on a dock door, because you're going to be there for probably 5 hours waiting to be unloaded by some other lazy, jack off that's in the warehouse. But you could get out and walk back and forth down the truck. You could step up and down your steps, get a little bit of cardio in, get your blood pumping a little bit. Do some push-ups, do whatever. Just get out and do something. So I'm trying to make trucking a better lifestyle through nutrition and exercise, because it's health and wellness. And if I can help truckers do that, then I've done my job in correcting an entire industry, and nobody else is doing it. So you talk to any truck driver anywhere in the world, they all say the same thing. And we are all needed. We are all the backbone of our countries, because without us, nobody has anything. That's food, cars, appliances, fuel. If you've got it, it came on a truck. Now, a train can take it to a place, but in order to get it from that train to where it needs to go, it still took a truck driver. So we are so needed, but we are in everybody's way. Everybody's mad at us for just being here. And everybody takes so much advantage of us in general. Like, everything that we have to buy is usually bought at a truck stop, and those prices are skyrocketed. So there's that. You got to buy parking spots a lot of the times, and those are so overpriced. Like you're either mad at us or you're taking advantage of us. We don't really get any respect from anybody. So I don't know of any other health coach, practitioner, doctor, whatever. I don't know of anybody else that's main focus is the transportation industry. So I'm kind of taking it on headstrong with an optimal attitude to do my absolute damnedest to try and help as many people as I can. And I know it works because I've done it, and I know it works because I've helped other people achieve, you know, better lifestyle. And it's always the same with everybody. It's like, oh my God, like I didn't realize just how bad I felt until I started doing this. And it's like I've never felt so good in my entire life. I can't even remember the last time I felt this good. And that's always such a great feeling for me because it's like not not only am I helping people by letting everybody have, you know, stuff because I bring stuff, but to help somebody feel so much better. Because I know I'm not the only one that's been out there that's like, I hope I don't die tonight. I hope I don't have a heart attack in my sleep. You know, I hope I don't have a brain aneurysm or something. Because that stuff happens every day. And I know that there's other truck drivers out here that think that. There's truck drivers that might suffocate in their sleep because their throat's too big. You know, they got to sleep with the sleep mask on. You know, I don't ever want to be that, which is why I changed my life. And I've helped other people, you know, take those things back out of their life so that they live a better life. They don't have to be afraid of not waking up the next day. And that's a really good feeling for me.
Yeah. So, if people want to reach out to you, do you have a website or are you on Instagram or anything like that?
I am still in the process of getting a website up, so I don't have that yet. I do have an email. It's the Highway Health Coach at Proton Mail, Proton mail.com. I'm on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and Threads. All of it is the Highway Health Coach.
Yeah, no problem. I'll link to all of those in the show notes. Brandon, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story and experience. I really appreciate your time.
I really appreciate you giving me the outlet to tell it because I love telling people my story. A lot of truck drivers are starting to get the picture with the more that people are starting to talk about carnivore. So people are starting to click in this industry and switching their diet up. So hopefully there's going to be a whole lot more similar stories coming out.